I got a Father's Day card this morning. Then I was using it for the screensaver. I had another screensaver, but if you're just coming in late, this is Seinfeld's father, Jerry Seinfeld's father on the program. And actually, I didn't know. It was my daughter told me he's actually Ben Stiller's, another comedian's actual father. Serenity Now. Yeah, we'll get back to that. But I wanted to, today's talk, I want to do a few reflections on silence and actually befriending silence. I don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your life, but big part of mine is befriending silence. Notice how you thought something was wrong. Sort of set you up for that. Something was wrong when there was just silence, as if that thing didn't say it all. As if you couldn't write 1,000 words on this one, that attitude, that feeling. It was quite a loud picture. I didn't think it needed any music, didn't want any music. So the interesting thing about trying to understand silence and trying to give a sense of what it means to befriend silence is you've got to talk about it a little bit, because silence is unfamiliar, more unfamiliar to us than ever before. And so we need a little conceptual springboard to actually jump into silence and to start to really become a friend of silence. Going back, the last time I actually talked was back in June on the intensive, the dancing with spirit. And just a quick recap of that, because it sort of lays the groundwork for what we're talking about today in terms of befriending silence. Why would you even want to befriend silence? Isn't silence just the absence of speech? Isn't silence like being deprived of something? I remember an early memory, like I think it was maybe, I can't remember the nun, but it was earlier than my pivotal nun in the 5th grade. So it was probably 3rd or 4th grade. But somebody did something that was wrong, or we messed up. And so the nun said, okay, class, you fold your hands on your desk and we'll sit in silence for 10 minutes. Silence as punishment. Never occurred to me before. And so I folded my hands and sat up straight in silence, and I really sort of enjoyed it. I couldn't let on, of course. You wouldn't want to let on, but I thought it was much better than trying to listen to the nun and remember stuff. And little perfectionist that I was always, I wanted to get every word. And so now there were no words, and I sort of enjoyed it. That wasn't the last time we had to sit in silence as punishment. Silence as punishment. Silence as deprivation. Maybe that was the start of maybe I was a little contemplative and just didn't know it. I used to go in with my grandmother, who was a true contemplative. I didn't know the word. And I'd just light the candles, and when 3 times a day she went in, shut the door on the world, and just prayed from her Italian prayer book, and I would fall asleep. Yeah. So I had training. Both the nuns trained me. Little did they know. So, okay. So just to go back to the last Dancing with Spirit, just to capsulize it in about a minute, I spent 45 minutes jabbering about this thing, trying to point to something important. But we talked about everybody's journey being a journey from being nobody as an infant to becoming somebody, to becoming everybody. That's everybody's journey. From a contemplative standpoint, that's the journey. You start out as nobody, you become somebody, but that's not the end of the thing. Even if you're a big somebody, even if you're Taylor Swift or the President of the United States, or, some great basketball believer, Michael Jordan, you can be a great somebody, but that's just 2/3 of the journey. Third act remains to become nobody, now to become everybody. Well, what did that mean, to become everybody? Well, it takes a little getting used to. and a little reflection to see how could you become everybody. Well, along with that it's a kind of Trinitarian evolutionary. We're talking about Chardin, and that we're talking about evolving to who we're meant to be, which is everybody according to the contemplative tradition. And as you go through nobody and somebody and everybody, we're talking about pre-rational consciousness, rational consciousness, and then whatever trans-rational conscious is. Okay, because that would be the consciousness of saints, sages, God. There's some other kind of consciousness out there that doesn't either. It's not about fear, and it's not about anxiety. Those also track. So pre-rational, rational, trans-rational. Fear is the fuel for pre-rational. We live in fear, and then anxiety is sort of the low level refrigerator hum kind of anxiety that goes along with having a rational mind. Okay, it's a great blessing to have a rational mind, but it's not fear, because you can sort of control your life a little bit more, but there's that refrigerator hum of anxiety. Hey, unlike these daylilies outside my window that were all closed up when I was sitting in the dark this morning, now they're open. Okay, they're sentient beings, but do they know that they're going to die, come the fall? Do they know this? No, they don't know that. We know this. We know that this body and mind goes. We've seen it. We've had animals. We've had pets. Maybe, we've lost loved ones. We know that this physical, material part of the trip ends at some point. But, is that the end? Well, the rational mind says it is. Okay. Both pre-rational and trans-rational consciousness tends to disagree with the rational mind on this. Very interesting. And again, trans-rational is not irrational, although sometimes people would think it is. Life's a bitch and then you die. If you're lucky, you can play that game, and they can say, well, whoever ends up with the most toys wins. Even, that's still a variation of life's a bitch and then you die. Okay, so and then going along with that nobody, somebody, everybody kind of evolution of consciousness is also the body goes. It goes body, mind, heart. So to live a trans-rational consciousness, it's the heart, not the physical heart, although that is all connected. It's all connected. The heart is the thing that aligns with everything. The heart is the thing that connects you with everything. I'm talking about the Sacred Heart in Catholic tradition, or the spiritual heart for the contemplative tradition. So, when you're nobody, you're just this body trying your best. Get pleasure and nurturance, avoid pain. Well, every amoeba does that. Okay, that's the body, and the brilliance of the body, the brilliance of the mind. Still, you're working with fear and you're working with anxiety. Now, the fuel for the third tier of consciousness, transrational, is love. That's the meaning of God is love. It's the fuel, and that's sort of the motivation. So that's just a recap of that. And when we talk about the heart, because we have to talk about the heart when we talk about silence, Dogen, who's the Zen, the head of the Zen tradition that I started with in Suzuki Roshi, Dogen said, the whole ballgame is dropping body and mind into the heart. What does that really mean? Well, it means not to get rid of the body. Body's bad. There's a lot of bad religion and a lot of traditions that say, the body is, the bad. Don't go there. And then the mind, a lot of anti-intellectual kind of religious stuff going around. No, it's not about that. Dogen was saying to drop the body and mind into the heart means to entrain, to integrate what's good and brilliant about the body. I mean, there's not many machines that could do what your body and my body does. All these millions of processes, cells, everything, all being sort of synchronized almost perfectly. It's close, more perfectly than any machine could do it. So the body is brilliant, nothing wrong with it. But by itself, it's a certain pre-rational part of consciousness. But fine, you don't want to have to think about breathe in, breathe out. So I mean that's brilliant. So there's brilliant stuff about the body, but there's also some stuff that's limiting about the body. So what you do when you go through consciousness evolution, you transcend, you go to the next level, and you include the healthy aspects of the previous stage. Now, Ken Wilber will turn these 3 into 9, and it gets more precise, but basically it's pre-rational, rational, transrational. Basically, it's body, mind, heart. Basically, it's fear, anxiety. What would it be like to live without anxiety? Well, I've touched my toe into it a time or two. Sometimes with this group. Sometimes it just turns into pure love, but then to actually get there to where you're really living, your heart is open to resonate with everything in life, the bitter and the sweet, and also to give back, to be the open channel for love. I'm still working on it, but that's what I'm interested in doing. And it's slow work, which brings me to the screensaver. Whoops, nope, it doesn't. Let's see. Try it again. In case you've forgotten, it's pretty hard to forget it, but just put it up if we had a few people who came in a little bit late. This is just serenity now, as if you can force it on anybody, as if it's like that. Our culture is a quickaholic culture, you see. And I remember Est, when Est came in, Werner Erhardt's thing, you could go on a weekend. My wife's, Pam was working as in a law firm as a legal assistant secretary, and her crazy lawyer went to an S thing on a weekend, and he came back, and for about a week he was grinning and saying, I've got it. He got it in a weekend. Classic American stuff. And, that faded. As soon as Oklahoma lost to Texas football, he didn't have it anymore. He's pissed off, So this idea of I got it, and and that you can force people to do it, and you actually have to use your own force in a way to get it. It's a wrong approach. This is a long game. Evolution is a long game. Might be longer for me or for you than even one lifetime, which is where our Tibetans are our great friends, because they say, hey, don't worry about it. Just, keep showing up. Keep working on it. And, if it takes another lifetime, they say, if you really are committed to showing up, they guarantee, this is the Tibetan guarantee, that you'll make it in 16 lifetimes or less. It's a pretty big guarantee compared to the original Buddhists who said it took unbelievable kalpas of lifetimes. But, no, 16 lifetimes or less. That's a good news. Maybe this life. Who knows? But you don't have to worry about it. It's slow work. Chardin, and the quote we had from Teilhard Chardin, who was a great evolutionary evolutionist early in the 20th century, as long as being a Jesuit a priest, he was a scientist and a priest, put both together, matter and spirit. He said, just settle into the slow work of God. Because there's what you can do. We show up. That's our job. That's our business. But then that's beyond that. It's none of your work. You show up. You're present, open, and available. To in the heart is what you're bringing in, because the heart is an organ of alignment. So what are you aligning with? Well, the inner divine, whatever that is, however you talk about it. Now, silence, you don't make the jump between the second tier reason and rationality to really that contemplative space. You cannot make that jump without silence. That's the one thing that all the various different kinds of traditions talk about. And the problem with us doing it, because we got Zoom, we've got spare time. You wouldn't be here if you were in Haiti, you'd be out trying to find water or something, or in Gaza. But why aren't we the most enlightened culture in the world with all we have? Well, it's because there's a lot of barriers. I just have a list of them here. Talk radio, 24-hour cable, internet, smartphones, personal computers, email, text, earbuds, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, chat rooms, even AI now. 50 years ago, we had none of this. Some of us are old enough to remember when there was none of this. My daughter, who's here, she's going to make a dinner for me today. Elizabeth, some of you know, she left to take her walk, and she had her walking clothes on and all that, and she had her headphones on. She was walking. I gotta just, I just have to shut my mouth sometimes. So I would say, why don't you just walk and have the silence and whatever. So I didn't do it. They let her go. But you walk in the park. She goes walking in Cherokee Park, the big park here, and she's got her headphones on, her earbuds in. How often do you see people? And they're maybe listening to a great podcast. So podcast, put that on the list. I'm not saying any of it's bad, but when you get in the young guys who are, they've never lived with anything else. At least we have. And I'm glad to have this personal computer. I'm glad to have Zoom, because we can do this work together. But the question is, how much silence gets lost in that process? Then there's noise pollution. There's just my daughter and one of my friends lives right in the runway of the airplanes going to Standiford. I live out here, and I could go over here too. Yeah, but so those are kind of barriers. So we got, but it's just something that's lost that I think we grew up for thousands of years in almost pure silence. I've come to the point where I really think we go crazy because we don't have enough silence. We go crazy, but there is an antidote, and that's in what is meditation? Well, it's a formal time of silence. Whatever methods you're using, mantras, the breath, other kind of somatic things. Silence is the thing that is critical there. And so to have to cultivate a meditation practice, I think that's the wisest thing you can do. That's what do you want to do with the rest of your life? Nothing else. Cultivate a meditation practice. Get some silence into your life. Now, this is tricky. And why isn't there more? Well, just basically to sum up all meditation practices, at some point, you just let go. I'm a centering prayer practitioner. I think it's the right flavor for me. And it's basically what you do. You just when you catch yourself thinking during this 20 minutes we're going to spend, you let the thought go. You just let it go. then there's this sense of letting go in all meditation practices, in yoga, in all the variations. There's just, but it's really clear in centric prayer. There's nothing else to do when you catch yourself thinking about a thought. Thoughts are going to come. I mean, until you're brain dead, it produces thoughts. Okay, there's nothing wrong with thoughts. There's nothing wrong with thinking. But during meditation, we're going into, this practice of when we catch yourself thinking, you let the thought go. Okay. And maybe for a nanosecond, you're in silence. And then you're back thinking about something. We've all had that kind of thing, but that's the essence of it. Now, letting go is not hard to do. It's hard to value in our culture. How could just letting go be of any value whatsoever? We're a consumer culture. Whoever dies with the most toys wins. I could add Amazon to that list. Some of us lived in a time where there was no Amazon. Oh my God. What could you do? So the value is something you get, you see, rather than this is totally like heresy in a consumer culture that just to spend 20 minutes when you catch yourself thinking, you do this. We're holding on to the thoughts, or maybe it's a great thought, whatever. But then we just go, okay, yeah, all right. I'm going to do something radical. When I catch myself thinking, I'm going to let the thought go and just come back to the center, which is your heart. Your heart is there. Okay. Remember weeks ago when we had the great eclipse? I can eclipse this entire screen right now with my thumb in front of my eyes. I can't see any of you now. Well, the eclipse was the moon, which is orders smaller than the sun. It passed in front of it, and then we eclipsed the sun. Well, all this noise, all this mental stimulation eclipses the silence, you see. So to have a formal practice, twice a day, to sit down for 20 minutes and just cultivate silence, even if it's only minutes out of the 20 minutes. Why 20 minutes? Well, it's very interesting. 20 minutes is the amount of time you shut your eyes in most cases. The Zen guys will sometimes keep them open, but you shut your eyes. It takes 20 minutes basically for you to, your eyes to adjust to the darkness. It's a very interesting point about the 20-minute thing. And, I sit longer than that, et cetera. Sometimes at retreats, you might sit 30 minutes. But the 20 minutes gives you a chance to sort of settle into it, actual visual-wise. And then if you open your eyes after 20 minutes at night, when you're trying to look at the night sky, you keep yourself. That's how Haitians literally can see in the dark, because they have no light. They have no light. So this time is trying to let you settle into silence in a way. And what will that do today? You can't evaluate 20 minutes in silence. So don't even try. It's not a bad meditation. When you spend 20 minutes with your eyes shut, just trying to let go of thinking, let go of all the machines. Nothing wrong with them, but do you have a personal computer, or does it have you? That's the big question. Do we have all these things, or do they have us? Look at the amount of time you're on screens during a week. In a day, you don't have 20 minutes to sit and try to cultivate this? Get out of here. You're spending hours on screens. So am I. But I find 20 minutes twice a day, I find time where I sit down and just let it all go. So we can do this. We can do this. And then, so that's built into our thing here when you come on Sunday. Words, and then silence. And then a kind of hybrid in the third one. When we get into community, you can unmute. And then that's why incredible things are actually said and experienced and learned in the community session, because people have had some silence, some time to sink and open the hearts. And so when people really talk from the heart, when they really say something that they're resonating deeply with. Well, it's like E.F. Hutton, if you remember those commercials, it's just you really pay attention. It goes to your heart. It's from my heart to your heart, which is why we call this heart to heart. So, all right, I think that's enough for the talk. Let's cultivate a little bit and reflect on this. Reflect on all the gadgets and whatnot. But let's take our 20 minutes